So you have you have a lot of choices. So they have a lot of hotels, recreation centers. Some they have nightclubs for people who are interested, but they may not be as lively. I mean, Abuja may not be as lively as Lagos or even Calabar or any other Nigeria. It's a good city that has that potential. Although the Zuma Rock is there on the outskirts that we can visit and things like that. But from Abuja, you can go to Plateau, you can go to Jos, you can go to a lot of places, you can go to Kaduna, and still come back, to enjoy yourself. You can come back and stay. You can use it as a launch pad. But Abuja is a good city to live. So maybe or to do business, because like I said, most of my trips around the country are business trips. So Abuja offers for a business tourist, for a business traveler rather. Abuja offers good infrastructure. You have good infrastructure. You have all the places you can do your business and everything. For conferences. There are conference centers that, apart from International Conference Center, you have the Transcorp Hotel, Sheraton Hotel. They have good facilities for conferences. Okay, they have good facilities for conferences, and so all these, like I said, for business travelers, Abuja is top notch.
Okay. Can we visit any place outside Nigeria?
Yeah. In Africa, because we are restricted to Africa for now, we are looking at domestic tourism. I will pick. I've been to a few African countries, both in the north, in the west, in the east, and the south, that part of Africa. Johannesburg has not ceased exciting me. For a tourist, Johannesburg may not really look like it's a tourist destination, maybe because of some level of crime or whatever and things like that. But there are places you can stay in Johannesburg that you can use as your base, yes, to tour other areas. Like Sandton City, for example. I've stayed a couple of times in Sandton City, and that place is very serene, very peaceful, and you think that you are not even in Johannesburg. That is the hustle bustle that you have in the city of Johannesburg itself may not really be there, but they have a lot of shopping. You want to do shopping, you want to do conferences for business travelers. Sandton City is okay. But for tourism, you can visit some places like Soweto. You can go to Soweto, which was the political base for the struggles against apartheid. So there is Nelson Mandela's old house that you can visit. There is the present house of Nelson Mandela on a street where, there's a street where two Nobel laureates live, which I'm not sure you have in any other part of the world. Mandela and
Desmond Tutu.
Reverend Desmond Tutu. Yeah, the two of them, they lived on the same street, and that's very unique.
Yeah, Bilikasi.
With that street. Come again?
Bilikasi, the street on Soweto, where you have the two people.
Yes. That street is there. Then you can when you move around Soweto, because I've had the opportunity of moving around Soweto, going to restaurants, different restaurants, eating out, all those stuff, they are there. And so this is that's very unique. You also see the house of Winnie Mandela is also there. But in Johannesburg itself, they have their own tourist destinations. I mean, tourist sites, attractions that you can go to. The old Fort Prison, you know, where Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Lutuli, and a lot of other political prisoners were held at one point or the other. So, and that's a constitutional court. There's a constitutional, they call it constitutional ill, rather, and because there's a constitutional court there. So we go there, you now step back in history. You have now try to understand the struggles of South African blacks against apartheid system. Because I saw something in Atlanta when I went to Martin Luther King's museum. From there, you are able to understand the struggles of the blacks in America against the system, against a system that discriminated against them. So when you go to the Old Fort Prison, you are also able to, go step back in history and begin to explore, and you have a more understanding of that society. And of course, they have a zoo, they have a lot of other things, and for shoppers too. Johannesburg offers a lot of varieties and opportunities. For me, when I go to any city, apart from going to all shoppers and I like to go to the local market. I like to go to the local market. So I've been to the local market inside Johannesburg. I've seen Nigerians that are also staying there. They have shops, and especially guys from the east. They are all there. So Johannesburg, although there are areas where you may be very careful, if you like to visit those places, you have to be very, very careful. And there are guides that can help you, to know where to go and where not to go. So this is very, very important. And I believe from Johannesburg too, you can also go to Pretoria. I've had the opportunity of traveling by road from Johannesburg to Durban. And it was a nice experience, although it's a very long journey, but it was a nice experience. You're able to see the landscape, you're able to see the people, what they do, and all those stuff. You see farmers in their farms and all those as you are traveling by road. It may not be, it may be tiring if you are not very used to traveling by road. But I think it's a better way of understanding a country. Johannesburg.
I have done that. I've done that trip by road from Joburg to Durban. During the World Cup, we moved around South Africa by road, and it was good experience. So South Africa is a very beautiful country. If you have to move around, going by road is one way of seeing the beauty of a very beautiful country. So your last destination in Africa, where would that be?
It's actually Cairo. Well, I don't know, but I sometimes I like history, so I try to enjoy things that can take me to the past, and Cairo also offers that. But Cairo, beyond that, has a lot of entertainments. It has a lot of things that can make your stay, very memorable. Apart from the Giza, where you have all those pyramids, and they can give you enjoy yourself. You go there, and then it's very interesting, because anything that can help you to also reconnect with the past, I think it's good to explore them. Cairo, I've had a few occasions that I've gone there, I've had to dine on the Nile. You get on the boat, and then you are taken, around the Nile River, and then you enjoy very fantastic meals, different sort of assorted food, Mediterranean foods, Arab food, and all those stuff. So your night is made, when you go out like that. And also, they have a lot of other, attractions. But one thing about Cairo is also that they have a lot of hotels, good hotels, Like I said, when I go to a city, I escape from the comfort of the five-star hotels, and I try to explore the city. I did that in Cairo. I went to the local market, went around the town, I did a lot of trekking. I normally do that when I go to a new place. So I went around, and I also saw the kind of a religious harmony that existed among the people. There are Coptic Christians in Cairo, and I saw some of their churches and things like that. Excuse me. So I tried to understand who the people are and how they live, what they also enjoy. But I know that Cairo is a highly populated city, just like Lagos, and sometimes you can also have traffic situation, but it's a very good city to stay. And I look forward to going back again to savor the good things that city has to offer. If you don't mind, I can stop there for now if you want more things.
Okay. You've taken us from South Africa all the way to North Africa. You took us from Joburg to Cairo. And just for your information, Egypt is the hottest place for Nigerian travelers now. Since they go to Dubai, almost because Egypt gives them the opportunity to shop and to also do a little bit of leisure. And they can't go to South Africa as much as they would want to because of some of the restrictions. We hope that all this COVID thing blows away so that we can get back to our normal life. And happy that a lot of Nigerians are discovering Egypt. All the top operators have massive packages to Sharm el Sheikh, to Red Sea, to do all those things you did in Egypt. And I have questions for you, but that will be after. Because
no problem.
As a travel writer, you didn't go with a guide. You went on your own. I want to know later if you recommend for people, Africans travel within Africa, to go on their own, to experience the attractions on their own, or should they rely on tour guides? And so you also made a mention about safety. We think we are all Africans, but your diet, your tongue, and your accent will make you stand out in many places. And we need to know if people are safe to move around. But I'll come back to you on that. I thank you for having to share with us today. I agree with you that Calabar is a wonderful and a beautiful place, and I'm happy to be identified with Calabar and the Carnival. Abuja is actually one of the showcase cities in Africa. Fantastic roads, great infrastructure. I always tease my friends in Abuja, there are more trees in Abuja than people. I'm a people's person, so I prefer Lagos, where there are more people than trees. But Abuja,
I am too.
wonderful hotels, wonderful buildings, and all those rich, powerful people that stay in Abuja. Then Joburg, that's one of the best stories of Africa. If you ever want to shop, Joburg is the place for you to shop. There
That's
is
it.
more shopping space per square meter in Joburg than most European cities. So if you, like for most Nigerians who want to travel and shop, Joburg has always been a good place for us to go to. Then Cairo, a lot of the, quite a lot of other things for people to see in Egypt outside the history. Wonderful hotels, like you pointed out, great heritage, exciting people. My only problem is that they all called me Sudani, and I thought maybe they thought I came from Sudan.
That's true. You look like one.
I look like one. Okay. And thank you for being with us today. So we'll quickly up a little. We'll take one TVC, a little bit about ATK news. Then we go to the biggest name in travel business, not just in Nigeria, but in West Africa. I hope all of you are waiting. See,
yes.
I put all the ladies at the end, Carol and Madam Fatou. They have fantastic slides. They have fantastic photographs. My crew here are excited. So I put them last. So don't go away. We take a clip, then we go to our big Oga himself, Mr. Femi Adefope. But now we go to a little clip.
No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. That will lead you home. That will lead you home. No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. That will lead you home. That will lead you home.
Okay, thank you. That's our project, and it will be happening in Lagos on the 25th and 26th at the Lagos Marriott, the brand new hotel, the newest hotel in West Africa, the Marriott. So our aviation and cargo conference will be holding there. So we'll go to the big boss himself. We are honored to have him join us today, and quite a lot of us will learn from him today, from his experiences. So please, can we have our guy Femi Adefope? Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. My one and only boss, apart from my government.
I'm trembling before I bow, sir.
No. It's really great to be here. I'd like to know how much time have you given me?
You have 20 minutes, but let's know a little bit about your history. So rich. Nanta, aviation, travel, tour brokers, just a little bit so that a lot more people will know why we call you our Oga.
You've said it all. I can't think of anything else. But very quickly, I started travel. I got involved in travel in 19. So we've had various, we've had varied experiences in Africa, and the group I've been retired from management of any business. I think it has something to do with someone I'll mention later, but I have been made a titular head of the organization that owns the various businesses, whether in full or partly. And that is GHI Assets Limited. I'm the current chairman of GHI Assets Limited. And my boss, who's the executive vice chairman of GHI Assets Limited, is Mrs. Bola Adefope. So I am honored to be here today, Nkechi. You've always looked for ways and means of doing interviews, and I've managed to dodge them. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, sir, for honoring us. By the young ones all want to know, and they've heard how you started with 5-star, and it's grown into this big behemoth that is in Bujumbura, Kigali, Luanda, everywhere. So the little seed has grown into a mighty oak. So, and I am honored to have you as someone who had looked into what I've been doing for a long time and encouraged me. So thank you, sir. And I hope the young ones learn. So let's go to your first destination. We start, they say charity begins at home. You are all over Africa. So but let's begin from Nigeria. Where is your first choice of travel within Nigeria?
Well, let me start with my second choice. Then I'll come to the first choice. My second choice is actually a city in the northwest of the country that's called Kano. Strangely enough, but I personally, today I'm looking at it from personal interest. If I go to a place and I fall in love with that place, I stay with it for a long time. So I guess to a large extent, it's like marriage. I've been married to government for 40 years now, so it's very comfortable. Kano, the place that I really love in Kano is a place outside of Kano called Bagauda. Bagauda had a tourist resort, which was beautiful. We spent a lot of time there when I was president of NANTA, when I was vice president and then president of NANTA, and which is where we worked on a lot of what you see of NANTA today and our relationship, obviously, with the Nigerian Tourism Development Corporation. Bagauda is there's another place that is up the road from Bagauda that's called the Tiga Dam. The Tiga Dam feeds most of the agricultural projects in that area. And at the Tiga Dam is a place called Rock Castle Hotel. Rock Castle Hotel was built by the governor of Kano, I forget his name, I'll come to it in a minute, in 1974. At some point in time, they expected the Queen to visit I'm not sure she ever did, but it's a very quaint hotel. It's called the Rock Castle Hotel. The first time I arrived there, we were in Bagauda. We then drove up to Rock Castle Hotel, and I saw the lake. There's a Tiga, you know, the Tiga Dam. And the lake there was just beautiful and serene. And the most interesting aspect, believe it or not, is the sunset on the dam, on the lake in the evenings, sun setting over the dam, the Tiga Dam Lake, and it was beautiful. And I visited there many, many more years just to go see the sunset. It's beautiful. Unfortunately, the photographs I had, I couldn't get them together in time for this presentation, or else I would have done that. My challenge, of course, is that because one has become busier since then, I haven't been able to go and spend as much time as I would have liked there. But Kano is also a rich state for a totally different reason. Kano is a famous city globally, and it was also a gateway into Nigeria. It was the second gateway into Nigeria, international gateway into Nigeria after Lagos. In fact, I believe that KLM's first flight into Nigeria was into Kano. And of course, we hear stories, for those who are old enough, some of us saw the phenomenon of pyramids of groundnuts. People call them peanuts now, but groundnuts in those days. Kano was a beautiful city. We had tanning. Yes, you can see the tanning pit over there. And actually, in those days, tanned their leather before exporting the leather abroad. And I guess that's what brought the airlines there. Till today, you still have some airlines operating. So for me, emotionally, physically, Kano would be my second city in Nigeria. Beautiful city. Yeah, it's easy to get there.
In order to clarify some things, that hotel at Bagauda was built for the Queen, and but the Queen
in Tiga.
Come, I think there was a coup, something happened and the Queen didn't come. And besides Tiga Dam, one of the most beautiful places I've been to in Nigeria, and that's when I went for training for the Nigerian Institute of Hospitality Studies. That was their original training school before it became Kano Law School, which it is now. So it's still a beautiful
Bagauda
place.
Resort.
Then the first flight to Nigeria that happened in 1935 happened in Kano. And Kano was a technical stop for most airlines for a long time. Even when America had the Apollo flight, and most of them flew over Kano. So leather business in Kano is still done. Kano is a traditional northern city. So I join you in celebrating that beautiful city in the north. So your first choice will be?
Thank you. Lagos. I live in Lagos, but as far as I'm concerned, Lagos is the premier tourism destination, business destination, place to live. And it is actually possibly the only city that continues to invest not only in, continues to allow the investment not only in the tourism infrastructure, but also tourism sites. There's so much that can be done. And as you can see from the slides, Lagos has actually come of its own. It's improving. Yes, people can talk about traffic and all that, but even the traffic is a tourism attraction. I remember many years ago, before the new Oshodi was rebuilt, I used to take visitors through Oshodi to see the mass of traffic in Nigeria. Some people had never seen so many Black people concentrated in 1 square mile in their lives. And that itself was a tourism attraction. But a lot of that has changed. It has improved. I can't say the same for a lot of other cities in Nigeria, especially Kano, Bagauda, and Tiga. But Lagos is a great place to live. It's a great place to go out and dine. It's a great place to go have fun on the beaches. And it takes advantage because I think we were once called the state of aquatic splendor, I believe. And we're taking every opportunity to improve on that. The stretch of beach between the Apapa port and Badagry is fantastic because on one side you have the lagoon, and on the other side you have the beach. And over the years, various tourist facilities have been developed around that beach. And you have snorkeling in Lagos, you have game fishing in and around Lagos, yachting. It's great. Yes, we've had a bit of misfortune with regard to the riots that happened, but well, those are completely unrelated to our tourism business. And of course, you see Nike Art Gallery there. I mean, Madame Nike has become an institution and she has a beautiful art gallery. There's no one who comes into Nigeria that we do not take, that I don't take personally to Nike Art Gallery. I mean, okay, her items are a bit pricey, but that's just to us because we're spending Naira. For those spending foreign currency, it's beautiful. So I implore a lot of Nigerians, not just to come to work in Lagos, but to come and enjoy and have fun. Every time one of my children in Diaspora visits Nigeria, they're always interested in the new sites in Lagos. So that's my contribution. It's a beautiful city to live in. Yes, we all have our challenges, but really and honestly, it is that city that has continued to improve. You may not see it, but there's more and more for people to do, to relax, to enjoy. There are more restaurants. I suspect there are more Lebanese in Lagos with restaurants and various facilities than there are in Lebanon. But that as it may, we have fun. They provide the supply of food, grocery stores, and all kinds of things in this environment. That's my contribution with regard to Lagos. I love Lagos.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think we are all addicted to Lagos. I'm also addicted to Lagos. And people wonder why I can't stay anywhere else. I always come back to Lagos. There is this Lagos energy that is missing elsewhere. So now let's go to your first African destination outside Nigeria.
Okay. Now I'm going to share some slides, right?
Yeah, we have.
May I? Or you have some slides? I want to share some of my slides, and then you can do that later. Am I allowed? Is it possible?
Okay, let's see if you will. Okay, I think it's locked from here.
Okay. No worries then. But I'm sure you have them since I've given you a heads up. Yeah, we can't share yet. But as I said at the beginning, for me, anything favorites that I've liked is more like a love affair. I stick to it. I love Lagos. I loved Kano. I'll still go to Kano any day. When it comes to Africa, my favorite city in the whole of Africa is Cape Town, South Africa. I first visited, my wife and I first visited Cape Town in 1992. And in those days, we actually had to get a permit from the Ministry of foreign affairs to travel to South Africa. But since then, we've visited South Africa many, many more times. And again, like Lagos, there's continuous improvement. I love Cape Town because Cape Town allows us the benefit of several cities, several climatic experiences, several sporting and sightseeing opportunities. And yes, I don't remember what's the name of that, the quarters that you have there. A lot of the residents in Cape Town actually migrated from Malaysia. And that's why you have in the areas they live, that's why you have those colors, the Pantone colors. The last time I saw something like that was in Salvador de Bahia. But Cape Town is favored by a lot of Nigerians, obviously, apart from the history. And the most important history in Cape Town area is Robben Island. And Tunji had mentioned Mr. Nelson Mandela, and a lot of the freedom fighters had served in Robben Island. But be that as it may, you have sightseeing areas such as that picture, for example, there is a picture of Table Mountain. And it's an aerial view of Cape Town, Table Mountain in the background there. And that little circle at the bottom is the stadium that was built for the World Cup. It's called the Bird's Nest, and tapering into the sea. I mean, the experience of Cape Town is just a beautiful, it's literally a world in one city. And then I don't know if we have a photograph there of the winelands. Yeah, that's a closer look at the Bird's Nest there, the stadium. And then, of course, the waterfront. The waterfront is actually a working harbor. Yeah, that's the penguins further down the outside Cape Town, where you can go there, and the lords of the manor there. Tourists can move around and they don't get too scared. But as I was saying about the waterfront, it's actually a working harbor. But within and around that harbor is a tourism experience, shopping, 5-star hotels. In fact, I guess the only 7-star hotel in South Africa is there, the one and only. But it's lovable. The airport in Cape Town is so easy. It's so easy to go through, to experience it, and it itself is a tourism site. And then you have the winelands. The winelands, as this is part of downtown Cape Town. Cape Town is a small city. It's literally a small city. I don't remember how many, maybe barely about 1 million residents or some of that sort, not as big as Lagos. It's a small city, but it's quaint, it's clean, it's relatively crime-free. Yes, you have areas where there are challenges, but every day I will still go to Cape Town. Every day I will spend time in Cape Town. As I said, there's the winelands. The winelands have evolved over the years. South African wine has become quite popular globally. And in the winelands, they've started building estates within the winelands. Not only winelands, they've also started building golfing estates where you are actually living in and around golf courses. Not that I can afford any of the property, but it's a beautiful place. If you want to know how the other half lives, go to Cape Town, you'll love it. And for us in Nigeria, of course, Cape Town is one of the greatest and the best wedding destinations. That's where you can actually have an open air wedding and really love it to bits. I think one wedding we attended in the last few years ago, the groom actually arrived in a helicopter with his groomsmen. The bride was there, and the groom comes, lands in a helicopter, and it was coordinated. The wife was driven up in a Rolls Royce. The helicopter landed, and they both met and went in there. It was a beautiful experience. Those things only happen in that area, and well, that's it for me. Now,
Cape Town.
Before you, yeah.
Cape Town is massive, very popular, reputedly voted #1 destination by almost all the travel magazines. And we need to apologize we didn't have your pictures, and I didn't see V&A waterfront that you talked about most of the time, and the winelands, but I think my team didn't put that together. But you said something that you went to Cape Town in 1992. That was during the apartheid era. And that was why you needed a permit to allow you to go. So you saw South Africa before and the South Africa now. I will have a question for you later about the difference between then and now. But I will go to your last destination for the day.
Right. My current and most favorite destination in Africa at this point in time, and it has very little to do with the fact that we actually work with the national carrier, is Kigali, Rwanda. Kigali, Rwanda is like a phoenix that has risen out of ashes. Kigali is one of the cleanest cities that I have seen in the world, that I've visited in the world. Maybe Singapore is possibly the cleanest in the world. But Kigali is very, very close to Singapore. It's not surprising that the president, Mr. Paul Kagame, has mirrored his development along the lines of Singapore. Singapore is a fantastic seaport and has boat building there. Kigali aims to be one of the biggest airports in East and Central Africa for connections, for cargo and all that. But Kigali, first of all, I remember Tunji also talked about doing business. A lot of people who do business in a certain environment, and that environment is clean and is welcoming, also want to visit that environment. One of the times we had to incorporate a company in Kigali, it actually took us 24 hours to incorporate the company and get it ready for trading. Opening a bank account was just as easy. I mean, that one took us, I think, 1 day. So the ease of doing business in Kigali is fantastic. I've been visiting Kigali for the past 10, 12 years now, and we've been working with the airline for 10 years, but there is an improvement. There's something new every day in Kigali. And the beauty about Kigali is that this is all done. In Cape Town, for example, you have a combination of some of the people who arrived to some of the Boers that came in from Holland and Germany and the Brits and all that, who have staked claims there. But Kigali, this is all us. This is all us. There had been a fight. There had been a massive genocide. And out of the ashes of the genocide has come a beautiful city, a well-adjusted group of people, friendly people, healthy people. Yes, you still see a building there pockmarked when they were looking for. Nowadays, there's no Tutsi or Hutu people in Rwanda. They're all Rwandans. But in those days, how do you say it now? The colonialists decided to give us names as Tutsi or Hutu, but that doesn't exist anymore. Maybe there's something we should learn about that in our country. But Now you have a famous, you have your hotel, you have your conference center, you now have an arena where they play, where basketball is played. You have new hotels. I think the first new Marriott property in Africa, that's the conference center alongside the Radisson Hotel. And the first new Marriott property in Africa, dedicated Marriott property, was built in Kigali. I think they opened about 3-4 years ago. But they have lovely hotels. They have apartment buildings also. And so tourism is easy. You can walk. The first time I arrived in Kigali, I arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning because Rwanda had not started. I had to fly through Nairobi, Bujumbura. I arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning, got to the airport, and took a regular taxi to my hotel. The Serena in those days was completely safe. It was well lit. I mean, people in Lagos almost had a fit. You're arriving 3 a.m. in some strange country where they did this. No, it's beautiful. Till today, it is still one of the safest cities in Africa. In fact, I think it is the safest city in Africa. I love Kigali. I love the people. I love just walking. You can walk around Kigali and nobody's going to harass you. You can cycle every week. Is it every week or once a month? You have a exercise. Everybody goes out there. The streets are closed off and you can walk, jog, do whatever it is in the city. You then have the equivalent of environmental, which is a cleanup day, not what we have forgotten, but a cleanup day once a month also. And you have, obviously, what has made that area outside Kigali popular has been the gorillas. The gorillas are actually named once a year. They attract a lot of international visitors to the gorilla camps, and those things are growing. So the key thing about tourism, the key thing about cities that you like is not that they become stagnant. Lagos is continuously improving. Kigali, continuous improvement in a difficult region. That region is quite flammable. The border on the eastern side, I think, is Congo and Goma, and there's been a recent earthquake there. A lot of the refugees ended up there, but this has not affected the life in Kigali. And you trace this to the leadership. They have good, focused, young leaders, young, and I repeat, young. And even if you look at the airline, they start with young professionals. So that is it for me. I'm not just advertising. It's a place, my family know, it's a place that I love to go. I love to visit. Kigali in Rwanda as my most favorite city in Africa at this point in time. I'm hoping somebody else will trump it at some point in time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And Ikechi, back to you. Sorry, I can't hear you. You're muted. Brilliant. Yes.
I'm one of the few people that have the honor to name a gorilla. So
you see?
Yeah, I'm a gorilla namer. So I love Kigali. And the cleanup exercise is called the Muganda. Yes. Similar to what we do here in Nigeria, the environmental sanitation we are doing before. They call them Muganda. And we like to know the fact that you can open a business in 24 hours and set up a bank account in 24 hours. That is amazing. I hope other African countries will copy that you don't need a resident permit to, once you register your company in 24 hours, you can open up a bank account. So that's a poster case for Africa. Kigali, cleanest city, risen from the ashes, ever changing. You use a lot of words to define Kigali. So thank you for those 4 destinations. We'll come back if we have time. So we'll go straight to Madam Carol, but we'll break it with a little TVC.
Thank you.
ATQ. So I hope Madam Carol is ready. Okay, thank you. Thank you once again. ATQ News, that's us. So we'll go straight to, I don't want to disclose her location, but she's definitely not on Africa at this moment in time. She's Carol, hey.
Hello, how are you? How's everyone?
Good to have you back. Good and cheerful, cheerful, cheerful.
Yes, I am in South London where I live, and it's always wonderful. I'm always a bit nervous when you have these absolutely fantastic speakers from Africa, and then you ask me to speak afterwards, because I love listening to the storytelling and the experiences, but at the same time, I know, Ikechi, that you and everyone on the call are always so welcoming. So I'm honored to be here, and I've been looking at some of the persons who are here today, and I realized that I met quite a few people on this call at Akwaba in 2019 in Nigeria. So to everybody who has met me before, it's good to see you all. So I'm taking a bit of a different position in my presentation. You know, when Ikechi gave me the opportunity, I said, yes, I'm happy to participate, but it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to do it more where I'm looking at the Caribbean and Africa through the eyes of the diaspora. So if my presentation can be started, and then we'll take it. And my background is that I've been in tourism for many, many years, predominantly Caribbean tourism, but I've had the opportunity to learn so much about other parts of the world. And I've always had such a strong interest in Africa. Didn't actually get to visit Africa until I was quite an old adult in life, but growing up in London, it was a community of Caribbean and Africans, and predominantly from Ghana and Nigeria. So I've just got to minimize something so I can see my screen. Right, so it's going to be welcome to the Caribbean, but a little bit more than that. My name is Carol Hay. I'm the CEO of McKenzie Gayle Limited, and it's a global tourism company that was started last year with my colleague Florian Valmy de Villas. And before we even go into details, I just want us to look for a second at Africa's diaspora. Because I notice that whenever I go to events and, you know, Africa is being promoted and etc., I love the fact that, you know, there's always a strong emphasis about promoting Africa for Africans. But it makes the diaspora sometimes, we feel a little left out, because we're like, well, we're a part of this too. And we want you to speak to us, and we want you to reach out to us. I remember in September 2019, when I was in Lagos at the Echo Hotel, attending Aquaba, and I was there passionately with my colleagues from the Jamaica High Commission, Trinidad and Tobago High Commission, my colleague Lorraine and Dr. Kerry from Barbados, and we're there passionately talking about the Caribbean and the connectivity with Africa. And one man from Africa said to me, "Why are you here?" And that question stumped me. And he said, "Why are you here? Why are you in Africa?" And I said, "Because this is a part of our story. 400 years ago, we started to leave the coast of Africa as enslaved people, and we were taken to so many other parts of the world, Africa, the Americas, Europe, and we're here because we want to be a part of the story." And just him asking me that question, "Why are you here?" made me realize that there's still a massive disconnect between Africa and the Caribbean. And even though I know that politically there's a lot being done, there's a massive gap. And there's so many persons on this call, you know, influencers, writers, tour operators, travel agents, business people, marketers. And there is a massive gap for us to look at and to say, how can we bring everyone closer together? My story is simple. I was born in England of Jamaican parents. And my parents, they came a little after the Windrush generation, but at the time they came, it was when England was being built. And they came because they were told, you know, you're a part of this England, this community. So they came over as young people. And for me, growing up in England, I hadn't been to the Caribbean before. Sorry, I don't know if this is on a timer, but if the person could go back to the last slide, please. But I hadn't actually been to the Caribbean. All I knew growing up as a child was that there was this place called the Caribbean, the West Indies, and there was this place called Jamaica that my parents are from. But there was a strong Caribbean African culture in England, and we had music and sound systems, and my parents would take us to the market once a week, and we'd be able to buy Caribbean food, and we'd see the flavors, and we'd hear the music, and we'd see all of these people around us. And I kept thinking to myself that one day I want to go to the Caribbean. And finally, at the age of 18, I finally went to the Caribbean, and I had the opportunity to go to Jamaica. And because of the culture and the heritage that my parents and the values that they brought us up with, we didn't do any of the tourist things. We went to the churches, and I'd never been to these churches before, where there was drumming and cymbals and tambourines and people getting in the spirit. I'd never seen any of that before, but that was a fusion of Africa and Caribbean. And I'd never seen people walk into the market on donkeys, and I hadn't seen any of that before. So the opportunity to go to the Caribbean and to have all of this culture and heritage come together was fantastic for me. And it changed the path of my career, because up until then, I was studying law. But afterwards, I thought, no, I want to understand more about culture, heritage, and people. So I started to study tourism and eventually moved to the Caribbean. And for me, it was a wonderful experience, because I started to see a really diverse range of people from Africa, from Europe, Asia, the Middle East, the Far East, but all of them were a part of the many beliefs that we started to see in the Caribbean. And in the Caribbean, I realized that it was so different from when I was growing up in England, where I attended the Church of England. I started to see Rastafarism, Islam, Hindu, Sikh, Pocomania, and all these religions living together in the Caribbean. I also started to have a respect for the architecture of the Caribbean, because I realized that all of this was influenced from our heritage, and the strongest heritage of all in the Caribbean is the African heritage. And if we go back to the last slide, we will see that a lot of these famous musicians that came out of the Caribbean and this culture, a lot of it is influenced by Africa. The music, the festivals, the carnivals, the crop over, the songs of freedom that united the Caribbean, a lot of this was influenced by Africa. And we see it today in the vibrant carnivals that we have across all the Caribbean. And some of the record breakers, particularly those in track and field and also cricket, but all of these record breakers, these sporting legends that we have from the Caribbean, so many of them have a very strong African heritage. And one of the things that many of us want to do in the Caribbean and in the diaspora is that we want to find out more about our heritage and the linkages with the Caribbean, between the Caribbean and Africa. And even though we don't have the type of wildlife that many of the African countries have, we still have our own tropical wildlife in the Caribbean, and the icons that have come out of the Caribbean, and again, influenced by Africa: Bob Marley, Sean Paul, Billy Ocean, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj. All of these influences that we see in the Caribbean are influenced so much by Africa. But I'm also so happy that the times that I've spent in Africa, as well as hearing the music out of Africa, I could also see the influence of the Caribbean, particularly, reggae music, in Africa. So one of the things Ikeche said to me was, as well in your presentation, let's talk about some inspiring destinations that mean a lot to you. Now, this was a difficult thing for me to do because I work with all the Caribbean, but I thought I have to be fair and I have to select and share with you the destinations that I think are really inspiring and have their stories to tell. And those destinations are Belize, Grenada, Cuba, and Jamaica. Now, the first one for me is Belize. And Belize is a destination I think that you, your clients, and whatever role you have in the business of tourism in Africa, I think Belize is one of those destinations that will leave you really inspired. The thing that I like the most about Belize is that it has distinct heritages there. It has the Creole heritage in Belize that came out of the enslaved people that came there over 400 years ago. There's also a mestizo culture, which is out of the Mayans and the Spanish. And then there's a Garifuna culture. And the Garifunas, they came to Belize in 1823. And they have a very strong combination of Carib, Arawak, and African culture. And then, of course, there was again the Mayas. Now, what I like about the Mayan culture in Belize is that even though there's a strong African heritage, if you go back to that slide, you will see the amazing temples that they have. And many people find it hard when they go to the Caribbean because Belize is in fact the only English-speaking Caribbean English-speaking country in Central America. But when they go there and they see those beautiful Mayan sites, it conjures up a whole majestic view of the Caribbean, and it's something that is so totally different. Another thing that I really enjoyed when I went to Belize was their wildlife and bird spotting. I never thought that someone like me, living in London, would actually have enjoyed bird spotting and going out into the mangroves. An amazing destination. Everything that you would love is there. The food, the culture, the heritage. But what will really jump out at you are the Mayan sites, all those wonderful diverse cultures living together, and just a simple thing like bird watching. Absolutely amazing. Another destination that I just wanted to quickly speak to you about, next slide please, is Cuba. Oh my goodness. Years ago, I remember reading an article where Cuba was described as the most beautiful woman in the world, who went to bed in 1959 in her best dress and her makeup, and is still wearing the same dress and makeup today. And what it's really saying is that the beauty of Cuba is still there, but it has now been distinguished by some of the hardship. But when I went to Cuba, I absolutely love the fusion between the Creole and the Spanish. The Creole in the music and the vibe, and the Spanish in the language and the food and the culture. And if you have the opportunity to go to Cuba, you will understand what they mean when they say it's like a beautiful person who hasn't changed in decades. The buildings are there, but you can see they need a bit of love, but that soul is still there. And the most loved vintage vehicles you can ever hope to see are in Cuba. And with the music and the vibe and the Creole and the Spanish, it really is a fantastic Caribbean destination to visit. And my third choice is, next slide, please. Grenada, the spice island of the Caribbean. I don't know, as soon as you get off the plane, as soon as you land in Grenada, you can actually smell all the spices. Grenada is known for the nutmeg and from that mace. And the nutmeg is used in so many different things, of course, in spices, in herbal medication. Then you have the mace that's also used in culinary. They have the chocolate. Grenada has produced some of the best chocolate in the world. For those who drink some of the finest rums and liqueurs and spice liqueurs from the island of Grenada. On top of that, Grenada places a lot of emphasis on culture and heritage, and it has a strong Creole, a strong Black heritage. So Grenada focuses a lot on the music, on the community art, cuisine. Sorry, I'm so enthralled by all it has to offer. I'm losing my own voice as I do. Right, a sip of water. So if you go to Grenada, you will just enjoy the whole natural experience. Some of the most stunning beaches in the world, delectable cuisine and seafood. And what I also like as well is the hotel choice. In Grenada, you have the option of staying in some beautiful small boutique hotels, which really creates a friendly feeling. I'm going to move quickly onto the island of Jamaica, my heritage. What would you love the most about Jamaica? I can say the vibe. Jamaica was once named as the coolest country brand in the world. And I can see why. Jamaica has a mystic vibe to it, and it comes through the legacy of the music, the mellowness, Bob Marley. Another thing that I really love about Jamaica is its promotion of the arts and culture, the performing arts, the spoken word, music, visual arts, ceramics, carving. And you know, Jamaica, the capital city is Kingston. And so many people say to me, Carol, I'd like to go to Jamaica, but I don't think I'll go to Kingston. And I say to them, if you haven't been to Kingston, you haven't been to Jamaica. And if you have the opportunity to visit Kingston, of course, it's good to work with the tourist board and to go to a guide, but to have the opportunity to go to Bob Marley's home and to where they produce music and to listen to the story of the Marley family, to go to Devon House, the first mansion owned by a Black man in Jamaica, to visit the campus of the University of the West Indies, to go hiking into the Blue Mountains, to savor, you know, food by the roadside, to go to the local beaches and savor jerk fish, jerk chicken. It really is a fascinating destination. We could speak so much about the Caribbean, but I wanted to share with you my experience of being a child of immigrants from the Caribbean, growing up in England, how culture, heritage, and a sense of purpose, drives that passion. And now I want to just talk to you. Someone's just mentioned my friend, Nayi David has just said Montego Bay. Yes, Montego Bay is fantastic, but I don't have enough time to take you on a full tour of the Caribbean or Jamaica. So that's why I just have to touch on a few points. To go back to the other slide, my Africa experience. If you can go back, please. So where have I visited in Africa? Botswana, Nigeria, Malawi, South Africa. Loved all of them. But if I had to quickly select two, number one would be Malawi. Yes, Malawi. Can I tell you why? Because when I went to Malawi, that was where I had the opportunity to really engage with the community, because I had a friend in Malawi. And that was, for me so far, the kindest country I had visited in Africa, where people who had nothing were still willing to share something with you, and those who had something were even more generous. So absolutely love Malawi. Had the opportunity to do a safari, drive through the many communities with my friend, and really enjoyed Malawi. But the kindness of the people will always stand out in my mind. Number two, Nigeria. Love Nigeria. Gave me a kind of vibe like my home Jamaica. And what I love most about Nigeria was that there is just this vibe there. There is a spirit, there is a pride, there is a beauty. And I think listening today, hearing about, Africa and Nigeria and Lagos and Lekki and Badagry and other parts, all of this needs to be shared with the diaspora. We actually want to be a part of it. We want to know more about Africa, and we want to engage with Africa. So the next slide now will talk about how can we do this? How can we target the diaspora? Because I am part of that diaspora grew up born in England, Caribbean heritage, discovered Africa, in love with Africa. So how can we get more? First of all, accessibility. We know on the government level that there are talks between Nigeria, Ghana, and particularly those countries in South Africa and the Caribbean, particularly Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, about access in terms of visa waivers, visa facilitation. And certainly those on the travel side need to have greater discussions about flight connectivity. Also safety. We all know that we have to tell our own story where Africa and the Caribbean is concerned, because if other people tell the story, they create these countries to be no man's land. So all the influencers here, the journalists, etc., you've got to tell the true story about what is safe, what isn't, and how we can promote safety. Information is key. Again, we've got to tell our story. Ikeche started this in 2019 when he said Africa Caribbean heritage, connecting the dots. We have to continue the legacy of the work that he has started. Information is key. We've got to find a way to share more. Can you go back to the other side, please? We've got to find a way to share more information between Africa and the Caribbean. There also culture and heritage. This is what joins us. This is what unifies us. This is what ensures that we understand the connection between Africa and the Caribbean and the wider diaspora. Sorry, can you go back to the other slide? My memory is not that good. I can't remember everything I wrote, so I need my slide. Right, thank you. And don't press forward again, okay? So there's an emotional connection between the diaspora and Africa, but there's also a gap. So we want to have that gap filled. We want authenticity. Yes, there are lots of touristy things that are made up for people, but we want the emotional connection, the heart and the soul. When I went to Africa, when I was in Nigeria, oh my gosh, I was in fabric heaven with all the beautiful fabrics that I brought, because I wanted to maintain that authenticity. Also recognition. The diaspora wants to be recognized as well. And also we want partnerships so that we can work together. Yes, you do a fantastic job at promoting Africa to Africans, but let's reach further and promote to the African diaspora. Next slide, please. I've almost finished. Next slide. Right, and finally, I just wanted to quickly tell you about Unity through Tourism. It's something we're doing in London. It's a whole week of events, but in Unity through Tourism, I will actually be running a panel which will have speakers from Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific, and we're going to be talking about how we can support each other more in tourism by promoting our culture and our heritage. The discussion has started, but we have to do a lot more. There is so much more business that we can do with each other. There's so much more knowledge that we can share, partnerships that can be built. It's going to be live, and there'll also be a virtual element. So if anyone contacts me, I can give you the link, and I'm looking for a few more speakers as well. So I'll go through Keji and see who else we can put on that platform to talk about unity through tourism, because that's what I'm pushing today, that through tourism, we can unify Africa and its diaspora. It started. We both have the most amazing products in the world, and there's no reason why we can't learn more about each other and appreciate each other. Next slide, please. Thank you. And two of my favorite pictures. The first one was when Ikeche took us to the Nike gallery, and we were able to try on some traditional dress and take some pictures. And I absolutely love that picture. And I look forward to going back there. And of course, also when we went to Badagry, and for me, that was a very emotional journey, because I believe that if not my ancestors, but then certainly the ancestors of people that I knew walked that path, and that path of no return. So it really was quite an emotional journey for me. But here we are, the descendants of those who left 400 years ago, thriving in the Caribbean and other parts of the world. But we do want to come back home. And even if it's not permanent, we do want to come back. And I hope that every single one of you tourism professionals here today will open the path for us, welcome us back through the tourism that you have to offer. Thank you so much. And I look forward to engaging with you all at some time in life, but thank you all.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That I just sat back and I got educated and I listened and I enjoyed every moment. I told you, you're a storyteller. You have, you're better than me at this. This is wonderful. And Ebele says there, Jamaica, Kingston. She was crowned Mrs. Tourism United Nations in Kingston, Jamaica. So she had a connection to Jamaica. So once you started, she came out and said, Kingston, Jamaica.
Now that means Bella knows she knows the beauty, and I can also see my friend from Remlords on this call as well.
Yeah.
It's
Remlord is now the president of the Travel Federation in Nigeria. He's the newly minted president last week in Abuja.
Excellent. Well, we'll connect outside of this, but that's good to know. Congratulations to him. Congratulations.
Okay, so we will go all the way to Gambia, where we bring the former Minister of Tourism from Gambia, Madam Fatou. She was former minister, later became ambassador, became president of the hotel associations, and she has taken me to so many places in the Gambia. And today she has to share with us about her experience. Today we have heavy guns. So can we go all the way to Gambia?
Hi, Ikechi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, madam.
Good afternoon, all.
Afternoon.
I was listening to Carol, and she reminds me, took me back to my days. I traveled to Montego Bay, I did Kingston, I did Ochorias, and I love the jack chicken, Carol.
Aha.
I was listening, and I was at Montego Bay right now. It was a beautiful experience also. I loved it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you give us a little introduction to, I know you as Madam Minister, I know you as the ambassador, I know you for so many, so but people who want to know a little bit about you, then you go to your first destination.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ikechi. I am Fatou Mas Jobe. I started out in banking. I worked for Standard Chartered Bank for 10 years, and through Standard Chartered Bank, I traveled the world. And from there, I managed a hotel. Then I went back into banking. Then I became minister, then ambassador. And right now I'm just doing my own business, but I cannot leave the tourism sector. It's part of my DNA. I'd say it's a great pleasure to be part of this conference. I've listened keenly and I've learned a lot. And thank you very much for the opportunity, Ikechi.
So let's go to your first destination in the Gambia.
Well, the Gambia is known as the smiling coast of Africa. It's a very small country. We are a population of less than 2 million. And I just want to share with you the few reasons why we love the Gambia before I get to the two locations. It's not cities, but a location in the Gambia. We have a very superb climate. We have a unique geographical position. Carol, we are not far from UK. We are 5 hours away from UK. There's peace and stability, which is very important for people to visit. We have the friendly locals. That is why we are known as the Smiling Coast. We have quite big resort. We have a diverse wildlife. We have over 500 species of birds. Of course, we have the navigable River Gambia. And along the River Gambia, you have over 50 islands that are waiting to be discovered. And then recently, we are blessed with a world-class conference center called Sada the Cairo Jawara International Conference Center, which can be used for MICE tourism. The Gambia also have quite a lot of investment opportunities for those investors willing to come and invest in the Gambia, in the tourism sector, in agriculture. And like Uncle said, like Rwanda, we also have certain incentives and one-stop shop through the Gambia Export Promotion Agency. If you want to open your business, it can take just like 24 hours and you are done. Now, my two favorite places in the Gambia, one is Makasutu. Ikechi, I think you've been to Makasutu before. Makasutu is located in an African bush setting. It's beside like a mangrove. In Makasutu, you have like monkeys, and then you have baboons, you have like a floating houses that are very romantic and cozy. When you are in Makasutu, you'll just be wondering whether I am in the Gambia, a very like a small country. But then you have the river cruise, you can do river cruise, you can do some walk at the monkey park, you have some sumptuous cuisine, you have cultural performance that you cannot but just join and be part of the fun. So apart from Makasutu, we have Juffureh Albreida. And then as Carol was talking about the Africans in the diaspora and trying to link the Africans with the Caribbean, Juffureh Albreida is in the north bank of the River Gambia, and that is where the home of Kunta Kinte is. We all know Kunta Kinte, featured in Alex Haley's book. That is the picture of Makasutu. Sorry, Ikechi, I'm moving fast.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm moving very fast. I think because of the last, I'm a little bit nervous because they've said it all. Now, Kunta Kinte Island, it was James Island before, but now you renamed it Kunta Kinte Island in 2010 because that is the home of Kunta Kinte. And Kunta Kinte, when you go there, you'll visit the island where the dungeons are, and then that is where the key highlights of what we used to organize, the International Roots Homecoming Festival, targeting Africans in the diaspora, people like Carol were the targets. I remember the last festival we organized, we had like Dr. Gavi, we had Sizzler Kolonji from Jamaica, we had Scratchulos from Jamaica, we had Mutabaruka, and we even had a princess from Spain that attended this festival. The reason why we do it is to actually unite and to allow the Africans in the diaspora to reconnect. So as far as the Gambia goes, these are my two favorite locations in the Gambia. They're worthy of visit, and then this is where you can see the diverse culture of Africa in terms of the cultural diversity, the ethnicity, and the warmth and the friendliness of our Gambian people.
Okay, before you move on, I want to say something about Makasutu. In Africa, I noticed that most resorts are not built on water. They normally will put the accommodation far from water. They put a swimming pool front or something. Makasutu is the first place I've seen where the houses are, the rooms are smack in the middle of the water. But now other people are copying that concept. So Makasutu is a place for me, the first place I've seen. Before I saw one in, I think, Mombasa, Egypt, and now in South Africa. So Makasutu is a place that is unique. So I want you to talk a little bit about Juffureh, and because you posted it here, so can you give us a little bit about Juffureh?
Like I said, Juffureh is 30 kilometers inland on the north bank of the river Gambia. As you can see, the Gambia is just like the river. The name came from the river Gambia. And Juffureh sits on the north bank and near James Island. James Island was renamed Kunta Kinte Island, like I said, in 2010. It is the home to Kunta Kinte. That is where the international trade took place, and then the slave trade also took place. And it's a very important and a very, one of the heritage sites, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And that is usually the highlights when we organize the International Roots Homecoming Festival. We have to do the Roots Pilgrimage, whereby we'll take people to the home of Kunta Kinte. The family of Kunta Kinte still lives in Juffureh, Albreida. We'll do the tour, we'll do like a boat ride and go to the island itself. Although the island is getting smaller because of sea erosion, but we're trying to see how best we can reclaim the island and make sure we keep it the way it is. But it's a beautiful place. It's along the river Gambia, and on your way you can travel from Denton Bridge by road. You can go by road using the ferry, or you can go on a cruise. It's really nice when you cruise along the river Gambia to go to James Island.
Okay, so you can go to Africa. Gambia is a small country, so you've shared with us Makasutu and Juffureh and James Island. So tell us a little bit about Africa.
Well, Africa for me, Ikechi, Africa to me is a distinctively unique continent. It is rich in cultural heritage and diversity. We all know that. It has a wealth of natural resources and natural wonders. And it offers breathtaking attractions for tourists and visitors alike. And for me, there are three reasons why I think people should visit Africa. One is the beautiful landscape. Now we're talking about COVID-19. Everybody's talking about COVID. But Africa is the best place to be post-COVID-19 because there is so much scenic places to detox and rejuvenate and to forget about everything. Everybody is so bothered about what is going on. There's a lockdown, you cannot move, you cannot do anything, but you have to come to Africa. We are blessed with open skies and there's a lot of space. So physical distancing is not going to be a problem. So that's one reason, the landscape of Africa, especially those of us who have been locked up in our rooms for a while. Please come to Africa and then you'll be free to detox and rejuvenate and forget about everything. Number two is Africa's wildlife. Now, we have an animal field, plains and forests that live on. The vast wilderness areas are home to the Earth's biggest concentration of large mammals. Now we talk about the big fives, but there's also the small fives. You know, people talk about the big fives like the elephants, the leopards, the buffalo, and the rhinoceros. But then you have the small five, like the elephant shrews, the ant lions, and the leopard tortoise, etc. And there's a lot more that you will not find on the list to explore in Africa. The third bit is the people of Africa. Now, the traditional African tribes and the multitude of cultural cultures we take pride in. Africa is home to 3,000 tribes, and each one of them have different languages, different cultures, and different traditions. Some of the well-known tribes are the Masaya or the Zulu tribes. Now, the Zulu, of course, is said to be the largest ethnic groups in Africa. So for me, there is a lot that we have to see and explore in Africa, and Africa, you cannot say the big fives or the small five. There is a lot more that one can see. I was fortunate enough to visit few African countries. I've been to Senegal, of course. I visited Tanzania. I did Arusha and then Dar es Salaam. I did Ethiopia. Of course, Lagos and Abuja. I love Lagos. I did the Vic Falls in Zim, and I also visited Lusaka. And then most recently, I was in Cotonou, Benin. So this is the reason why I think I'm trying to keep it short, because rather than go into more details, you can ask me questions later if you wish.
Yeah, so go ahead. Your favorite place in Africa outside the okay.
My two favorite places, like I said, I've visited different countries. One of the best and the top is Nanyuki in Kenya. At the time I was at Standard Chartered Bank, we had a conference in Kenya. And then normally we just stop at Nairobi. I've never experienced Africa. I did not associate Africa with the cold weather. So by the time we got there, it was April and it was a bit chilly. It wasn't cold, but it was chilly. Then we had to travel from Nairobi and go to Nanyuki. Nanyuki is a town in central Kenya. It is known as a gateway to Mount Kenya and the wilderness of Mount Kenya National Park. You have several trails, including the narrow Muro and the Sirimon route, which ascend to the mountain. The park's wildlife, of course, include the leopards, the big five and the small five. and there were over 100 species of birds. And then there are hills, and there are so much to see in Nanyuki. And then from the hotel we stayed, you could see the Mount Kenya from the hotel. It was so cold, and so cold that we had to get some wood to put in the fire to keep ourselves warm. I think that was really my first experience in Africa, to see that the weather is as cold sometimes as you'd find in Europe. We also had an opportunity to experience the night safari. That was really nice. We had an opportunity to have like a sunset, just drive at sunset just to do the safari. It was so beautiful that you did not want it to end. We also experienced sunrise. You know, you're sitting down having your breakfast around 5, 6, and then you can see the sun rising. It was so beautiful. All you could hear is just the birds. Nanyuki for me was really special. It was the first time I traveled out of Nairobi, and I really find it quite interesting. Now, the second one was, I think myself and Mr. Nyang and Co, we did like a farm trip. We visited Ghana. Now, Cape Coast for me was very interesting. Cape Coast is the capital of the central region in southern Ghana. It is known, of course, for transatlantic slave, etc. But one thing that excited me was the Cape Coast Castle, one of about 40 slave castles of large commercial forts in the world. Now, Cape Coast Castle is interesting because that is where you have the door of no return. You can see it on the picture. There's the door of no return, whereby it is said that once you get to that door, out of that door, you will never turn back. So it was a very emotional and very touching experience for me, and I can never forget it. We visited the dungeon, we saw everything that's what happening, and then it was so special that I can never forget it. But from the castle, we also went to the, there's a museum which had exhibits. Of course, the exhibitions were very much interesting. Then from there, we went to the Kakum National Park. I have never done canopy walk before until I got to Cape Coast. And then the Kakum National Park is where we experienced the canopy walk. The canopy walk was suspended 30 meters above the ground and provides a treetop views of the forest. It was so beautiful that you can never forget it. Kakum National Park is on the coast of southern Ghana in West Africa. It protects an area of rainforest, home to endangered mammals such as forest elephants, bongo antelopes, and primates like the Diana monkey. So the park is also rich with butterflies, including African grey parrots, etc. So I found it quite interesting that I can never forget it, even though it was years ago. Then from Cape Coast, we traveled to Kumasi. Now in Kumasi, one thing that caught my attention was the Nanaya Asentua Museum. Now it was historic, and because of the fact that I was born on a Thursday, I was also, Ashantua was born on a Thursday. I call myself a queen mother. Automatically, I was a queen mother when I was in Kumasi. Now, the museum is somewhere in the Antuima district in Ghana. Now, it was built in honor of the Ashanti leader. You have a woman that led a war. She led the war and she succeeded. She led 500 people to fight. In 1900 hours, she led the Ashanti War, known as the War of the Golden Stool, also known as the Asentua War against the British colonialism. So when they were narrating the story, you could see that it was alive because the museum guys were so knowledgeable. They showed us video. And then that is when we know I learned about the War of the Golden Stool. So it was well represented. And then I was really happy and pleased to have experienced such. So these are my two, sorry, I speak very fast. I'm so sorry, guys. But these are the two
no, it's okay.
places that I have, and I can never. Yeah, these are the two places that I have visited outside of the Gambia and other African countries. But Cape Coast, Kumasi, and Kenya, Nanyuki are places that I will never forget because it was so special to me. And I think people should explore Africa to know more about Africa rather than traveling outside of Africa. It is only us who can make Africa go to the next level. Thank
you. And I don't know if I should share this secret. There was something that happened in Senegal at an ATA conference where Mr. Remlot saw you downstairs. I think I'll tell the story.
No, you should not.
In Senegal for a conference, and Madam Minister was wearing a t-shirt and a jeans, and I think a face cap. And she came and she greeted Remlords, and Karen just looked at her and was wondering, who is this babe now talking to me? And he was looking, I didn't know he was the minister. because she wore a t-shirt, a face cap, and a jeans trouser, and she transformed. You know, all that minister stuff disappeared, and this was just a pretty babe. And my friend was just looking. I'm like, he said, "Who is that?" And Madam said, "Oh, what? What's going?"
Who's that babe? Who's that babe?
Sorry, Kechi. In diplomatic parlance, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Thank you, sir. No, but also, Ikechi, it goes to show the simplicity of the Gambian people. We are very humble, and we are very down to heart. You know, these positions are it's just a name for us. I love my jeans and my cap and everything. I don't like dressing up. Unfortunately, I don't like it. But he will still have to repeat. He will have to pay me.
Yeah,
you could have been the minister. Now, Richiko.
He was some experience. So today we have gone to Cape Town. We've gone to Joburg, 2 cities in South Africa. We've gone to Nanyuki in Kenya. We have gone to Kumasi, Cape Coast. We've gone around the Caribbean. Cairo took us to Grenada, Belize, Cuba, Jamaica, Lagos, and Malawi. And in Nigeria, we've gone to Kigali. The big boss took us to Kigali, and everybody admitted that that was massive. Nobody has presented Rwanda like someone like him who has been everywhere in the world. People think I'm much traveled, and okay, I've been around the world many times. They haven't seen your passport, sir. I think if they see your passport, they don't need to ask you for visa anymore. So it's been exciting today. But sir, before we go, I want that question answered. South Africa in 1992 and South Africa today, what is the major difference, sir?
South Africa naturally is a beautiful country. It was beautiful in 1992, and it's still beautiful today. What has the difference? I mean, let me start with the World Cup in South Africa brought about a lot of development, a lot of improvement, especially to the airports. And it provided gateways all over the place. It had the train system, the motorways, everything. The World Cup actually caused a rejigging of the infrastructure. The problem today, and Madam Minister, you're going to have to help me with the diplomatic way of putting this. It's us. It's us. We've had the opportunity of ruling our countries, of governing, but we haven't done a good job of it, unfortunately. As I said, it's difficult to quite put it, but I'm sure reading in between the lines, we'll see what has happened. It's fantastic. I know we've had some challenges in our own environment too, but their challenges are greater. The tourism sites are still there. They've been developed also, but there's a challenge. Let me leave it at that. Maybe Ambassador Ikechi can do a much better thing. The country has grown, it has matured, but something is not, I don't know whether it's been a result, it's a backlash from apartheid. When we had the opportunity to do things ourselves, we created all kinds of issues and so on and so forth. But they're very different. It's still a beautiful country, but there's this famous joke I heard once, and I'm going to make the joke pick on ourselves. When they claim that the Lord, somebody was talking to the Lord and talked about how Nigeria was such a beautiful country, was rich, it had everything on earth. And this person from another environment was complaining and said, Lord, why do you spend so much time on this particular country? Population, land, everything. And the Lord is supposed to have said, wait till you see the people that I put in there. But that's speaking. I'm making myself the butt of ourselves the butt of the joke. But I think you catch my drift. I'd hate to be quoted as Plan B or something of that sort. But that's what I would say. I don't know if I've answered your question, but I think
we get it. We get it, and I think also, just like the case of Nigeria, where we were not prepared, we were given a poison chalice, and we were expected to find out which part of it doesn't have poison, and we have struggled with the manual. South Africa is still struggling with the manual. The people were deprived for a long time. It's like a man who was kept hungry for a long time. Once they gave him the food, he wouldn't go through the whole course. Probably jumps to the most juicy part of it. We pray that Africa gets it right someday, very soon. And we hope tourism, like Carol said, is the key to this solution. Just as an aside, I want to make a little correction to what Madam Fatou said. The biggest tribe or ethnic group in Africa is the Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, Igbo, Zulu, Kikiyu, what's this in Congo? Is it Ligamba, or I'll get it right, but not the Maasais. And they are more widespread over like 3-4 countries, Tanzania, Kenya, a little bit in Ethiopia, but their numbers are not that big. I just needed to put that in place. So for all the people who has been with us today, it's been a wonderful week. I want to let you know that next week, 3 p.m., we have the former Minister of Tourism in Ghana. We have the former president of the Kenya Tourism Federation. We have the MD of Smile Air Ghana, who is also the president of the Aircraft and Airline Owners Association in Nigeria. We have the Commissioner of Tourism for Lagos as our guest for next week. We always try to put 2 Nigerians and 2 non-Nigerians. The reason is simple. We have a huge Nigerian audience who has been following our 7 wonders. So we want to also keep that steam going. Eventually, we'll bring in a lot more people. So Madam Catherine Afeku, former Minister of Tourism in Ghana, will be our guest next week. Mohamed Hessi, all the way from Mombasa. Then the Lagos State Commission, everybody is talking about Lagos, Lagos, Lagos. So she will be with us next week. And we have Alex Woba. Alex lives in Ghana and also lives in Lagos, Nigeria. He owns an airline brand in Ghana and also very active in Nigeria. So you'll be seeing a lot of more of these aviation people every week going forward. But the group we had today to stand takes, I'm very, very grateful to Madam Caro. I think we have to bring her back to talk about the other Caribbean destinations. We shouldn't be talking only about Africa, Africa, Africa without talking about the African diaspora. So Madam Caro, you will come back. Oga Femi, you still have to come back as we go towards the cargo conference. I didn't know you owned cargo operations. Now we know. So you'll be back. And our sister from Gambia, thank you once again. You taught us to dance at Kanelai. I remember Chiamaka dancing with those people and the guy who was, I think, putting the knife in his mouth. I heard you're a very good dancer. Sheikh Tijan just told us. So expect that next time we are going to get you to dance. So thank you, Africa. Thank you, the world. See you same time next week for another trip round Africa. Until we meet again next week, I'm still Ikechi Uko, and this is the Wonders of Africa Zoom conference. Thank you.
No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. No matter where you go, remember the road that will lead you home. That will lead you home. That will lead you